2023's Game of the Year Awards has finally concluded, and congratulations to all the winners, including Baldur's Gate 3 for getting Game of the Year. Most definitely deserved, guys. You knocked down the doors of that Game Awards ceremony. Congratulations, you guys killed it. That's not the focus of today's video. We could talk about the awards in another time, because today I want to talk about the top 10 most anticipated trailers that I saw at the 2023 Game of the Year Awards. Like content like this, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and let me know if I missed anything inside of the comments. Either way, here's my top 10 most anticipated games from the 2023 Game of the Year Awards. At number 10, I'm going with the finals. Unfortunately, during the beta of this game, I was traveling. However, the game was just well received across all boards. This looks like my style of a game. To be completely honest with you guys, I feel as if a lot of people will discredit this game for the vibrance and cartoony look to the game. However, me personally, I don't need hyper-realistic graphics in order for me to be immersed in an FPS game. What immerses me more than anything in an FPS setting is a hyper-focus on coordination with my teammates and a fun common objective. Games like Valorant, Overwatch, and Apex Legends add a lot of layers and dynamics with character abilities that mesh together, and you can't really get that from a hyper-realistic game. A lot of games cap themselves off, like World War II games that make really hyper-realistic settings that you have to stay true to the historical setting, and it just doesn't work out for the future of the game as well as it would for games in a more fictional setting. I love the unique arena setting with a futuristic coliseum and an audience watching your every move, and there's nothing better than having an announcer gas you up when you make a big play. Finals is available right now. You can download it on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, and I suggest you do and give it at least one try. At number 9, I have Tales of Kenzera Zhao. Abubakar Salim had pulled the heartstrings of many while he entered the stage of Game of the Year awards. This man's emotional message had poured the passion project of grieving for his father that introduced him to video games. And in this 2D forward-facing world that has beautiful lighting and vibrance, you play as a protagonist that tries to make a deal with the death god to bring his father back. It's beautiful, it's vibrant, it looks very fluid, it looks like it takes a lot of creativity to navigate through the world. The bosses seem like they're going to be fun and unique, and I think this game is going to be great on a Nintendo Switch. As of right now, this game is only $20 and releasing on April 23rd. It looks like one of those games that just hits different when you're sitting inside of an airplane, and after a 5-hour flight, you kind of still want to stay glued to your seat. Also, how can you not support this man? This was absolutely one of the most genuine demonstrations of a passion project at the Game of the Year Awards that I've ever seen. At number 8, I'm going with the highly anticipated and long-awaited Skull and Bones. Man, I have heard so much about this game for so long now. I saw a lot of live comments popping in saying that this game is just Sea of Thieves 2.0, and I don't think that you guys could be any more wrong. I don't think that every game about pirates or being on the sea is inherently going to be a Sea of Thieves style game. In fact, this game was supposed to be an expansion for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which eventually unraveled itself into becoming its own IP. A lot of the time when creating DLC, the developers have lots of discussions if this is going to be an expansion, DLC, or even a sequel, but not often does it unravel itself to become its own IP. And I really like the sound of that. It almost sounds like the developers had a good time making this DLC that eventually unraveled into being a universe of itself. However, with that said, I think they may have had a little bit too much fun. They broke budget up to $120 million at this point, and the game was announced in 2017, so it's long awaited. Originally, they had a little bit of an identity and environment crisis. They weren't sure if they wanted to put it as a tropical or a European setting. And I also heard that they had a lot of survival components inside of the game, similar to Rust. However, a lot of people said they wanted the game to be taking place mostly on a ship, which makes a lot of sense for being a game based around pirate. The game's aesthetic looks very nice. It looks very pleasing, and I think that this could be a very fun game to play with friends. It looks like you could get your friends together and go grab some booty on February 16th, 2024. At number 7, I'm going with Jurassic Park Survival, just because this game was actually canceled at one point, and I was shocked to see it pop up. When I saw that yellow logo on the side of the Jeep, I knew it was about to go down. I was really happy and excited to see that they revived the project. It's going to be a first-person action survival game that has you trapped in the Jurassic Park island, seemingly in the first movie setting with many references to that film. There's no set release date, but it will land on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox whenever we get a day. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is going to make place at number 6 for me, just because Budokai was a wild time on PlayStation 2 for me. It was decimating in that game. I had such a good time, and this kind of rejuvenated all of those feels that I had for that game in the past. There's going to be an incredible number of playable characters with signature abilities, transformations, and techniques. The lighting in the game looks amazing. The way the hair moves is pretty cool. All the techniques have that drama-filled looking crazy aesthetic to it. All we need is 10 minutes of dialogue before we throw every punch, and it will be the perfect game. Obviously, I'm joking about the dialogue, but there is no release date set, just a wish list right now, and it seems like it's going to be to be determined. At number 5, I'm putting Light No Fire. Okay, this is a very ambitious game, and what people usually mean when they say it's an ambitious game is I'm cautiously optimistic about your game and I'm going to compliment the developers for going places that other games aren't usually venturing out to. The world just looks absolutely beautiful, the building looks insane, the characters look very unique, it looks like even the animal life is just something interesting to gaze at. The developer had noted something that climbing a mountain will be taxing and fulfilling like it is in real life, and that this is quote-unquote the first open world in gaming. What it sounds like he's trying to say is that it is going to be a very, very, very big game. So big that traveling will be a actually taxing task. Sometimes when you play video games, you kind of do take it for granted that, climbing a mountain might be a seemingly mundane task. In this case, it seems like they're going to absolutely challenge you, and I don't know exactly where the challenge is going to be. In fact, I don't know what the goal is. The game looks very fun and pretty and immersive, but I'd like to see more of an identity for this game and its goals before I hear that the game is going to be taxing to do things like walk up a mountain. However, that said, this is from the people that made No Man's Sky, and I'm sure that it's going to be a lot of procedurally generated, unique experiences for everybody. I'm seeing a lot of flags that are telling me that there's going to be a lot of hurdles to jump over in terms of like graphical fidelity, file size, online capabilities, and I also heard that there's only 12 developers working on the game, which kind of makes me tiptoe around being excited for it. That said, I can't really help as a gamer to see something that is as good looking as this and not be kind of excited. So fingers crossed for this. I haven't heard of any announcement dates, but let's see what happens with this project. I am cautiously optimistic. However, at number 4, I'm not even close to cautious with my optimism, as Sega had a great action-packed looking OG little commercial, and I'm in love. The commercial itself even had like an OG narrative where it's taking all the city's power to put into an OG arcade game that's packed with Sega classics. And those classics involved games like Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, and my personal favorite, Jet Set Radio Future. I'm really gonna nerd out about Jet Set Radio Future for a moment because I tweeted about this years ago and I didn't know that I tweeted it into the universe to actually happen. I had no idea that I was going to fall in love with a cult classic game like Jet Set Radio Future when I first bought my Xbox. I originally bought my Xbox with intentions to break my Duke controller playing Halo, and I did not realize that I would just absolutely fall in love with Jet Set Radio Future on the double-sided cover of a Forza game. My future children are going to be scratching their heads at the idea of me loving this game with rocket-powered roller skates, wall riding, and spray painting walls to save the universe and the city from like these fictional, crazy-looking villains. But I loved that game enough to place this entire commercial just because it included Jet Set Radio Future all the way up to my 4th entry. I realize it's bias. I don't care. Judge me. At a very respectable number 3, we're going with one of the coolest Marvel Universe characters as Blade. I know what you're thinking. After Redfall, you see Arcane and Bethesda at the same time and you want to run. And I personally too was very worried until I learned that Arcane Lyon, their faction in France, is actually responsible for games like Dishonored and Deathloop and had no hands in Redfall. The Arcane studio located in Austin is actually responsible for Redfall, and the Lyon studio had no hand in it. However, with that said, Bethesda and ZeniMax are still the parent companies to this project, and I hope that they don't fall on bad habits. Redfall's demise was a perfect storm of having an unreasonable release date, which in this case there is no release date for Marvel's Blade announced yet, which is good. There's less pressure already. Essentially what happened with Redfall is they piggybacked from one game into the next because they wanted Redfall to feel like a game that was previously made. However, they overworked, understaffed, and just completely beat the brakes off of the developers in that game, which led to a lot of understaffing, people leaving, including lead designers. But on a more positive note, there is no release date for this game, which shows that there's not a lot of pressure for the studio as of right now. And I also think that Arcane studio flair, that flavor that Arcane gives, is going to lend itself to that Blade universe of the Daywalker vampire very, very well. I have high expectations, and I'm probably going to bite my tongue on this, but we'll see what happens with this game. I personally think that this is going to be a solid game. All right, guys, we're getting up to the top 2 right now. Let me know how I did so far in the comments. Make sure that you hit the bell, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we're going to get into God of War Ragnearock DLC as number 2. I have to admit, I cringed a little bit when I saw the back of Kratos' head. I thought to myself, how could we be already getting another God of War announcement, and this God of War announcement being so far up in the Game of the Year awards, I can't believe it's going to be another God of War. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but we literally just got out of Ragnarok. Like, I just got done watching people streaming it, and I couldn't believe that we were going to announce another one. It made me feel like this is going to be the Fast and the Furious of gaming. Well, I swallowed those words extra quick when I found out that this is not only DLC for Ragnarok, but it is free DLC. F-R-E-E DLC. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. God of War Ragnarok already sold 15 million copies. That means 15 million people are going to be getting free DLC, which is such a big win for the PlayStation and their community. I don't usually like to be overly negative on this channel, so I'm not going to say a million reasons why PlayStation took an L this year, but they took a lot of L's. And the fact that PlayStation and God of War actually took all this hard time and work and put it into a game to make it free, that's such deserving of number 2, if not number 1. And also, can we just talk about Christopher Judge bashing Call of Duty? Because maybe that swayed me into making this number 2 as well. I don't know. I could be biased. That was hilarious. Of course, at number 1, we're going to talk about the grand finale, the showstopper, Monster Hunter Wilds. Previously, Monster Hunter sold 17 million units, which is absolutely insane for such a brand new and questionable IP. To be completely honest with you, this could have flopped very hard. However, Monster Hunter seems to be one of the largest successes next to Resident Evil from Capcom. There's no word on what makes this particular entry of Monster Hunters different. It looks like a more deserty theme with lots of different monsters. I'm sure there's going to be lots of new items and weapons and things that you can do in the game, but there's no actual features that were released in the trailer, and I couldn't even take any context clues out of it. However, this game was so large it sparked a live-action movie, a mobile game from the creators of Pokemon Go, and a few spin-offs to replicate the formula, which is always showing that there's going to be a huge calling for what you're doing. We can all remember when Digimon made Pokemon. Y'all remember that? Well, what I see when I see spin-offs of Monster Hunter. However, Monster Hunter is going to be releasing in 2025, which is going to be another colossal launch for that gigantic year of gaming. Looks like we're ramping up 2025 to be a hell of a year, to be honest with you guys, including Grand Theft Auto 6 and other games. This is just going to be big.
Let me know in the comments what game that you're most excited for, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.